wouldn't think there was a big storm coming, would you?
The storm is coming.
What did he just say?
He said there's a storm coming.
At the heart of the storm is a source of evil that will change their lives forever.
I don't understand why you chose me.
You want to change the world, son. So do I. People want to change the world, don't know how to begin.
Let's start with a smile. Be honest.
It's love! The secret ingredient is love!
Okay, just calm down.
What the hell are we doing here, Harry?
All you do is give me answers. Just give me the right answer.
Tell the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
I can't promise I'll try, but I'll try to try.
We can figure this out, right? We can figure this out, right?
All right, everybody, what is going on? Welcome. It is Friday night. I am your host, Immanuel Kingman, and my co-host, the beautiful Andy Rouse.
What up? How's everybody doing?
What is going on, Andy? How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. It's been a long week. It's been a long, weird week.
Super long week. Yeah, definitely weird. And Mimi, my beautiful, lovely assistant to my everything. How are you doing?
Hello, I am here.
What up, Mimi?
What up?
Yeah, so we had quite the week over here of shows. I mean, I had some great guests, and it just lined up to where it's like one after the other that just builds 5 straight episodes that just build on each other. And
that's great.
You know, I don't really plan things this way because I have one person scheduled for like a month and a half out, someone like 2 weeks out, someone like 2 days out. You know, it just works out that way, or the next day, I think. So
it all falls into place the way it's supposed to, man.
It's
so
so
cool.
Crazy. Yeah. So how did your last 2 weeks go?
Oh, a lot of work. Just work, a lot of work. So it was nice. I got to go to Colorado over like a short period of time and see some people, and that was awesome. But yeah, that was kind of wild because it was like travel all day, hang out for a little bit, and then travel all day again. But it was a good time. But yeah, other than that, it's just been a lot of work and podcast stuff and planning and family. How about you, man? Other than the guests, what have you been up to?
Well, so I've been doing a lot of yard work. We're getting ready for the 12th annual oyster roast over here. Mimi has had now 11. I've been a part of one, but she's had 11 straight oyster roasts where she invites her friends that are all over the country, and they come down and
For a birthday celebration.
Yeah, and it's like
Nice.
several people's birthdays, and we have
Yeah,
a
I
good
share
time.
a birthday with 3 of my mom's best friends, my neighbor, and someone down the street. So I have the same birthday as a lot of people in my life.
Cool. Yeah, my wife has a shitload of October. Well, I guess me and her together have a ton of October birthdays surrounding us. It's pretty crazy. We're talking like 10 to 15 of them. It's crazy.
On the same day?
No,
Or
not the
just
same
throughout
day, but just
October? Yeah.
in October. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
that time, that harvest.
Fall babies.
Bunch
Yeah,
of harvest babies.
Yeah.
So we've been doing some yard work for that. I've put some stuff off for a while I've been doing the podcast. You know, I've been so heavy into the podcast, and I've been working weekends like crazy at my job. So I finally had off like 4 Saturdays in a row, and I was able to get caught up on the podcast and do some extra. I did the commercial for the Bible.
I saw
love
that. That was intense. That
Yeah.
was so intense.
Dude, the clip champ, the memory didn't, it was too much for it. That was too many videos, I guess. So at the end, everything is off because I was doing it based off of just looking at the sound waves I had when I added the audio.
Man. Oh,
Dude,
I didn't notice it. Like
it wasn't
offering.
too off, just a little bit, but it was taking forever. Like it took me like 10 minutes to get the first half done. I should have chopped it there and then redid, the second half later, but oh well.
It was good. It was good, man.
You live and you
You
learn.
did a good job. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think other than that, I've been getting ready for I have that roundtable tomorrow, the healing and giving thanks. That's gonna be so awesome. It's gonna be psychics, Reiki masters, one of the most kind, warm-hearted people I know.
What time does that start? I might be back
That's
in
gonna be
time.
9 at night.
I think I'm gonna be home.
Yeah, it's gonna be so great. So I got Nicole Morales. She is
Nice.
from Healing with Nicole. She is her podcast. When I listened to that, it made me like I could feel her energy so intensely. And then she actually did a Reiki session on me, and it was magical, dude. I could feel that shit. I was like, whoa, magic is real as shit when you do a distance Reiki. You know, she's in Cali, I'm in Georgia, and I felt all of it. And she described everything that I felt. It was
That's
incredible.
wild. That's
Yeah.
so crazy, man.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah. So I got her. I got Christopher, the Astro Medium, which he shares a lot of my psychic abilities and the way that we awakened. So that's super cool. I have Kara Mosher, Quantum Awakening. Yeah,
That's cool.
That'll be cool.
yeah. She's awesome.
I listen to Kara a lot.
Yeah, I like
And
Kara.
Nicole, I follow her
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah. And Jeremy Malcolm.
My favorite, Jeremy.
Wow.
Jeremy, he's
my
intense
brother.
guest coming up.
yeah, and Brandon Thomas.
From
Who needs
Expanded
no
Reality.
introduction.
Yeah, fills it out.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's a
Yeah.
great lineup, man. Yeah, I got a lot of guests
That'll be
coming up too,
fun.
but I have a lot going on with Roots of Creation too.
Yeah,
so
I
it's just
So
actually
how'd that
record-
go? That
I
drop.
listened to
first
it
that I
today.
had,
got
we
I
to listen
listened
to
to
it
it
yet.
today, half of it.
Oh,
I
cool. Thank
didn't
you.
get to listen to the other half, but
What'd you
That's all
think?
right.
it was good. It was good.
It's that was a
I
beast
didn't
too.
get
It
a
was
chance yet.
2+ hours, and I think that's probably where a good amount of them are going to land, because it's a heavy topic, and we're going to have a lot of really special guests on. So
Mhm.
this first episode we just dropped was just the three of us, kind of broadly going over some box saga stuff, and some of the crazier claims, and a lot of it was kind of like shocking, when you just throw it all out there.
Mhm.
But we're gonna go real deep into it with some of the primary sources, so it's gonna be cool. We have this weekend we're interviewing Michel Merle,
Okay.
who's from Holland, and he's the closest one to this thing that's alive. He was the person that Eeyore Bach passed the story
Okay.
off to and spent decades with, teaching him, just like Eeyore Bach had learned from his mother and his mother's sister.
Who popularized it as of recently?
I would say the closest thing to popular would be Unslaved with Michael Desarian.
Okay.
If you're familiar with him.
I'll have to look him
He kind of helped give it more of an audience, I think. I
Okay.
definitely heard of it from Dan from Rising from the Ashes.
up. Well, like
and
who
that's
does the
why we're
website? Do you
doing
know
it.
that?
The Box Saga website, I don't know who runs the website, boxsaga.info, but it's probably, I'm not sure. It's probably someone that the folks over in Finland and Holland and Sweden, that area, hired in, or someone
Okay.
that they knew that got into it, and he was already into it. Like, I'm not sure who does it, but I know that they're all kind of involved loosely in every which way. In the Lemminkainen temple excavation, they're all involved. They're involved with the book Box Saga, an introduction. There was there's a few storytellers along with the writer and the co-writer and stuff like that. The
Okay.
storytellers are the ones that are kind of doing it the same way Eeyore did it, and the same way that was taught to him, and which according to the saga had been taught for thousands of years throughout this family, orally, passing it down on an oral level. So the storytellers kind of dictated a lot to an author friend of theirs, who will also be having on at
Nice,
some
nice.
point. So it's just, we have a really good lineup so far of guests from the area that are really close to this, some that haven't been able to speak publicly or to a bigger audience at all about these things. So it's going to be cool to talk to these guys and really get the inside scoop on what their perspectives are. Because, Eeyore set out the ground rules. He gave the root language, he gave all the stories and everything. And now the ability to apply it to many, many parts of our culture and our histories, it's ongoing, it seems, so new faces come in, but also people that have been there from the beginning and know this root language quite well, but and also speak Swedish and Finnish, which in this particular case is extraordinary, because these are the languages that supposedly were brought forth from this original root language. So it's very fascinating stuff. I could go on and I'll stop here.
No, you're fine. I mean, I'm fascinated by it as well. What's going on with my computer? What is it?
I don't know, man. Box Saga's infecting it.
Yeah, something's infecting it. I think I really cracked something with this demons coming from our technology. I really feel it. But anyway, I don't want to go off on that. But I mean, we can hop back to that.
The more people think about it, the more people focus on it, the more we're going to start seeing that kind of shit.
Yeah, that's true. But we can go back to that. But I just wanted to touch on the box saga real quick.
Sure.
For anyone who's just learning, like I am myself. You have a great interview with Danunaki Dan, where he really takes it from like a beginner's guide from beginning to end. And you also have a more dense conversation with Yake, which it was very good, but I
more level
yeah.
4 right out the gate. Yeah. It was like a conversation. We were
amongst
deep
people
into it
who
already.
were amongst people who knew. So it was a little bit harder to grasp with that one. So I just interviewed Dan as well, and we had a wonderful conversation. So that'll be out soon. That'll be out before this on my audio feed anyway. So it's a lot to it. So I'm going to really dive into your podcast as well. It really does line up with, it's the physical version of the fallen angels. It's their creation. Essentially, lines up with the creation story that I told on the last Worship in the Storm that was coming through me in that week. It was the physical version. And now what I've been studying this week was the serpent bloodline versus the human bloodline, and how there's two different creations, and that Eve taking a quote unquote bite of the forbidden fruit was actually getting impregnated by one of these copper blooded beings. And this video that I'm watching gets into it, starts talking about us versus them, right? And it's
I saw you post about that.
Dude,
it was very wordy and very I was thinking, oh man, people are gonna get totally lost in this if they don't pay close attention to this post.
Well, it was another download that was coming through me. So
you have to just blurt it out, man.
When you and Yake have that fourth level conversation amongst people who know, when I'm typing, especially on Twitter, I know so much of it already. I'm forgetting to fill things in.
You had to read that back real slow so you could follow. And
sometimes you post it for yourself just so you get it out of your head. So it'll be there.
So essentially the us would be the original creation, the first creation, which is the copper blooded beings, which maybe you would call them the Anunnaki, created from the hominids. There were hominid beings here, and they mixed their DNA. It wasn't sex. They mixed their DNA with the hominids that were here and made their own creation. So they couldn't create for themselves. And this is where Satan says or the Bible says Satan cannot create for himself. He can only alter God's creation. So they manipulated DNA. And this was probably millions of years ago. This was probably 50 million years ago, how the Box Saga, goes back that far.
That's what they claim too, yeah.
Right. So it probably does go back that far. So that happened, and they were all living here for a long time. This is why we have the different Denisovans, and we have, just all those different ones. I can't remember off the top of my head at the moment, but all the different Homo erectus, Homo sapien originals because we're Homo sapien sapiens. All of those different ones, they were all manipulated beings into existence, maybe from some kind of monkey like creature. Okay, that's very possible. So anyway, they're created, and like I said on the last podcast, they were these creator gods that they were sons of God. They were just created, and they were then going around creating their own things. And then God created Adam and Eve to compete with the Homo sapiens sapiens, or I guess the Homo sapiens that were here. And whatever, however it really worked out, they were Nephilim blooded beings. So Jesus says in the Bible, he calls Cain a serpent. In Matthew 24, he says, like, the line of serpent, ye old line of vipers, talking about Cain. And this is why I believe the Bible says God wants people to kill entire races because they're beings that shouldn't exist. So I believe that probably is why. I'm not completely familiar with that, but that's probably why God talks about killing in the Bible.
So I'm looking something up right now just because I don't know the exact spelling, but there's a phrase or a word in Norse mythology that I've been very curious about, and I've heard it a lot over the years, but looking at it with a different eye and kind of just focusing in on what I'm learning from Bach Saga and things like that. Nephilim, the Old Norse Nephilim, the cold, dark, misty world of the dead, ruled by the goddess Hel, Hel. And that is very interesting. I mean, I'm after phonetics all the time, and Nephilim is, I mean, I don't know the connection there.
The fractal nature of reality, definitely.
What's funny about something like this, an example like this is kind of like the first time I'm putting it together and just throwing it out there to someone. And I'm sure I'm not the first one to see this, but I'm curious if Dan has heard it yet or not, because most of the time I just assume Dan already knows an example I'm about to give him. And then sometimes I'll surprise him and I'll be like, oh, whoa, I knew something that he didn't know.
Did you hear his
Dan,
episode with Gary Wayne?
Not yet, no.
So Gary Wayne introduced him to Hel.
Oh, right. I think he was telling me about that.
Yes. So that's maybe along the similar lines, but it's the Fibonacci sequence. It starts off small, so it grows, it comes around again. It's a spiral. It's the fractal nature of reality on some scale. Obviously these are probably all happening all at the same time, just on different dimensional scales. I mean, we just got the super chills when I said that.
Dude,
he jumped out of her seat.
I try to hide it, but I guess she still sees it.
It's so bizarre. Like, I think all of the worlds in Norse mythology end with this Heim, which I'm pretty sure means home, but I could be wrong, and maybe someone can correct me. But
well, it means different things in different languages.
Definitely correct me.
Yes, it's super weird.
But yeah, if people want to look it up and they're just listening, it's Niflheim. So it's very close to, what would the connection be there if we made hypothetical connections directly to the biblical Nephilim,
right,
just by phonetics? Why would we connect them? Let's talk about what we could, like, how do our brains work? Because I know that they work very similar. So, like, what can we do? So what's
the story with the exact story with
let's see, it's the cold, dark, misty world of the dead. In the Norse creation story, Nephilim was the misty region north of the void.
So let me throw this at you. Clowns, well, maybe they're wearing makeup to make them appear to be alive. Maybe like they are in a dead body, as you were saying with this, the host, the dead host, or whatever that said. That made me think of that, and that also brings to mind the who are the people that come investigate the UFOs? I
Oh, the
can't
Men
think.
in Black.
Yeah, the Men in Black. That brings that in mind as well.
So to me, this
The Nephilim are the
Nephilim.
clowns.
Oh, so so the tricksters, right?
Yeah, so that's why clowns wear makeup, is because maybe they're in dead bodies and they're wearing the makeup, but they're terrifying.
Interesting. And
But
then there's
clowns
of
are definitely
course,
Nephilim.
well, and then they talk about Nephilim being giants and all that.
Oh yeah, yeah, redheaded, white faced, pale
So
skin, like a clown. Has the
It's
big
so
feet. They're on
crazy. It's
stilts.
so
A
crazy.
ton
That's
of them
so
come out
funny.
of one little vehicle.
And then you
Just
think
like they're
about
coming through.
think about the creepy imagery of Pennywise in that under that situation.
Yeah,
That's
not just
just a
all
different
of
level
them.
of creepy.
Beetlejuice.
Oh God.
There's so many, like that Twilight Zone, that black and white spiral. That's the other. That's the other
Yeah,
dimension.
dude.
That's our TV screens. That's our cell phones. That's our computers. There are other dimensions, and that's what the static is. And then we connect that to the Freemason symbol, the checkerboard. What would a checkerboard be? But if you zoomed in on static, if your old air TV signal, if you zoomed in on that, wouldn't it look a lot like a checkerboard? If you could
Oh, that's
make it
interesting.
solid colors, and it's
That
between
is
two
very
pillars,
interesting. Yeah, you're
like
right.
a projector is between two pillars. That's exactly what it is. R2D2 style.
Oh, that's interesting, man.
That's what it is. That's the Nephilim. They're coming through the Freemasons.
Holy shit. I don't know.
They're
I mean,
interdimensional beings who pretend to be us.
So this is what not only does Bach Saga, but also Norse mythology in general, like the Scandinavian mythology in general, seems to do to my brain, because we have here a word that's so coincidentally, if not synchronistically, connected to another word from another region, from another time, from religions that cross no paths and supposedly don't really evolve from one another. But this Nephilim versus the Nephilim, you have a place, as the Nephilim is the dark, misty world of the dead. And then you have Nephilim, which are a group of beings. Whatever they seem to be, we are talking about at least archetypes of characters.
What if they're called that because
so-
they come from the place of the dead?
nah,
Well, so maybe, perhaps, yeah, I guess the word could be just a little bit different, not because it evolved in one direction or another, maybe because it's just describing a different part of the same concept.
It was the only way to describe what it was. It's the nothing. It's
Oh, never ending story, nothing?
it's the nothing.
I don't want to
It's
meet
the
the
abyss. I feel these words. They all feel very synonyms. I can feel it right now. It's like,
yeah, dude. Well, it's all phonetic, wicked bad. I think that's the key, man. I
'cause
really
what would
do.
you call something that came out of nothing? You would call it the nothing, right? If something started running around that was from nothing, you would have nothing to call it but the nothing. So
Have
you
you
would
ever-
call it the Nephilim. That's just coming from
if
the
you
place of the
break-
dead.
if you
Nephilim.
break that.
Phonetically, it
It's
does
because
sound
it's
like
coming from
nothing.
that place. Yeah, it's coming from that place. It's coming from the Nephilim.
That's crazy, dude.
Fee fi
So
fo
it's-
fum. Here come the Nephilim.
this kind of like suggests that like phonetically, it almost makes sense that phonetic explanations make sense first, and then all other mythologies seem to follow immediately. And they're
Mhm.
all true in some way. It's not about like objective truth.
It's like coded.
It's all
but it
fucking
works.
coded.
It's beautiful once you can get it.
Once you see it, like psychedelics showed me like the structure, and the structure was so intricate and like
Out of language.
it was mathematical, it was linguistic, it was
Yep, yep.
it was all that. So it had reason and logic to it all,
Mhm.
but just so happened to also be magnificently beautiful. Like
Right.
it's almost like the beauty is not on purpose. And man, I don't know how we got here, but whatever, we'll go with it. Like it like, so you look at a bed and a table and a this and a that and a TV when you're on acid or mushrooms or whatever, and you start seeing auras everywhere, right?
Mhm.
Everything has like, you start seeing,
It's like
I guess,
trailing.
maybe vibrational fields
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
It's like
I don't,
quantum physics. It's
Something like
it's
that.
not rendered. It's vibrating.
Yeah, vibration, different levels of vibration
Mhm.
off of different objects, and they have slightly different shades off of the shade that you already see
They're
normally.
all dimensions,
So
man.
yeah, and it's nothing like movies project, obviously, with all crazy colors. It's just more than what you're normally getting. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And what that just so happens to turn into looks like all that psychedelic, majestic art that people paint and draw. And it's probably I'd say that artwork is so closely related to this internal
I can
realm.
see your memories. I can see what you're seeing right now. All the different flashes that are flashing through your brain. I can see.
I'm having a lot of flashes right now
Yeah,
too.
I'm seeing. I'm
I'm in a good
seeing all the
spot right now.
colors.
We're
Yes,
vibing, brother.
yes, for sure. So what I'm seeing is that it's like a hard surface in the middle, and then there's vibrations up and down, and that there's little dots in between and above and below, and they're all their own dimensions, and we get stuck in them when when we're not vibrating any longer. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that brings up another interesting experience I had where, like, I kind of had this vision where I saw the hallways almost on a physical level with my eyes open of different thoughts I could start walking down,
Hmm.
and they all looked very similar until I went a couple like thoughts in,
Yeah.
and then they would start to have unique characteristics where I could have a more effective way to navigate, staying safe, almost like showing it was bare bones proof. And this is probably the most like lucid I've been about it. So fuck it, I'll just say it out here that like it showed me why or how important your thoughts are, and your
Hmm.
self-talk and your self-thoughts,
Yeah.
and what you say about yourself,
And what you
even if
do
it's
now, the effect
sarcastic.
that it has later.
Yeah, sarcasm, just being funny, what this or that, or oh, I didn't even mean it though, or every bit of it is meaningful.
Hmm.
And that thought was like both like very liberating, but also very terrifying, knowing that that was a psychedelic experience. And I know that I could get there through meditation and everything, but man, leaps and bounds need to happen before I'm able to utilize that incredible sight just on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But meditation, I think, would be a great step for anyone who has crazy thoughts like this.
Yes, for sure. Because this is why I love meditation so much. But I wanted to say when you were saying about the different hallways, I used to see that happen in front of my face, no drugs or anything, when I first started waking up. Because I've been abducted my entire life and experimented on. I mean, I talk about it. And it was always humans, and it was the I don't know if it's the U.S. military, but some kind of military force, probably the Nazis, that are in conjunction with these mantid beings as well as the Greys and the reptilians. I mean, they all work together, and it's very odd. But they kidnap everybody. I mean, it's like almost everyone for real. It's crazy. So these different beings, they do stuff to us, and they know who we are from birth, and this is what all the records, birth records, are kept so tightly for. So yeah, I know how crazy it sounds, but but it
It
is
all
just,
sounds crazy, right?
yeah, it's a spiritual warfare forever. So anyway,
Unfortunately.
back to what I was saying is, when I started awakening, I had great major things happen to me. I have these abilities just appear to me in less than 2 years, like I'm seeing your memories right now. That's like someone who has been doing stuff for way longer than I have been doing. This isn't just a normal thing that happens. And I'm not bragging, but I used to see this happen in front of my face, like trails. I would see different timelines peeling off, and it was my ex-girlfriend. I said it to her. I was like I am seeing, just sitting here, I'm seeing her like do something, and then I see like it just fades away, and then she's here, and it's like I was jumping so many timelines that I was literally seeing it in front of my face. It was only a few times, but yeah, you saw it when you're tripping. I saw it when I was literally like sober and just like, what is happening to me?
That's nuts, dude. And I've heard stories like that from a number of people where, you know, so that's my point of reference, is that like my wake up was psychedelics, because what I didn't realize, I think I said this maybe on the show before, that I had just been thinking I had a really intense psychedelic experience that broke me through. I kept just walking around saying that I had like a spiritual breakthrough or spiritual experience. Now I'm kind of more understanding of that that's the same thing I had, that I keep hearing about and stuff like that. So it's like, I don't know where I was going with that. Help me out. Where were we? Bring me back to center.
Well, we're just talking about how this world is what you make of it. Really, there is an objectional truth at the end of the day, and that's why we do the research that we do. You're doing it, you guys with the Roots of Creation are really tackling the physical, what you can actually tangibly see happening, and it is helping me, someone who's been at this spiritually. It's helping me really connect the dots, because I have the spiritual understanding. I have the understandings of these biblical characters who have talked about these things. I just get these visions. I connect with them. I started seeing different things that are described exactly as they are in Revelations. I started seeing all that stuff in different psychic meditations and different communications and different psychedelic trips. All this different stuff, I just started connecting with it. So I knew that was my path. And now connecting with you guys on this level, because I've seen that the most important thing, and the thing that New Age really pulls away from, which keeps you trapped, is you have to ground yourself. And searching physically is really grounding. Searching for the truth of how we physically did it is very grounding. And I've been
Absolutely
preaching that everyone needs to ground themselves, just be good humans, and God will reward us. There's a lot of people who are being tricked, as if there's something special they need to do. You just got to be good.
So check it out. Have you ever heard of a movie called I Heart Huckabees?
I have heard of it. I've not seen it.
So it doesn't seem like a movie, or at least for me, when it came out, I had no interest in it on the shelf or whatever, because that was back in the day when there was actually a video store or something. But like, it was just a very unexpected hidden gem. And when you watch this movie, it's all about the spiritual experience, and it's definitely written and directed by someone who knows. It's with Jason Schwartzman and Mark Wahlberg, and they're just two hopeless, just fresh out of the sleeping chambers, like wide awake, kind of in their own way, but not completely awake. Just that first glimpse of reality that freaks you out and turns you into an environmentalist, or this, you know what I mean? Overnight, that rush to suddenly do better or change or whatever,
Right.
or tell everybody about it. That's kind of what the story's about. And there's two different schools of like teaching or whatever that these guys run into. And one of them is like, everything's connected, everything's fine, everything's great. Oh, but you're worried, you are not your thoughts, the very Eastern way of thinking. And then this other woman's like, everything's dead, there is no God, nothingness, like forever and ever. And it's like the happy all the time thing ends up biting them in the ass at some point, and they rush off to the crazy atheist European woman and learn from her for a while, and then they learn true sorrow from her, and then they're like, hey, wait a minute, and then they finally have their breakthrough, and they go, wait a minute, you guys all work together, don't you? It's not two different teams. You guys started off, and then we go over to you, and this and that. And they're like, no, we hate each other. What are you talking about? We don't want you to learn anything from her, and vice versa. It's crazy. So like, this accidental perfect partnership, like a yin yang forms in this movie. And it's a really beautiful way to describe the chaos that duality does to us throughout
Mm-hmm.
our spiritual awakening, I guess you could say.
Right.
How it's the yes no question mark is always there trying to drag you back down as
Right.
you're trying to just follow your heart or whatever, you know.
I think it's God really testing our ability to become God, to be able to discern like God, that you have to learn this. This is some kind of jumping off point, but I think that this place got hijacked. I don't think it's the way that it was supposed to be, that it got hijacked at some point. But that is a good explanation of it. And if it
I
does,
don't disagree, by the way. I don't
yeah,
know what I believe on that level. Because
I
I
think it's the
think
Nephilim broke in, honestly. And
I don't even know what level or scale of reality that is, but yes, I totally agree that I think too that there was a hijacking of something very important to us. And I
yeah,
think, like we talked about, that fractal nature of reality and how it comes back around in similar forms. That's why I also, well, not why, but it's interesting that I also think, along with others, that the Freemasons were infiltrated at some point, and that
by the
they
Nephilim.
actually that they actually did stand for like a noble good thing. Like the whole idea of secrecy and occult originally comes from that very, very, very simple personal idea of keeping your prayers to yourself.
Mm,
uh don't say your wish out loud. Like, it's all that kind of same, just keep it personal because it's for you. And it goes back to that same idea of start blabbing about the truth to people that don't see it and you sound completely crazy. So it's like, just understand it for yourself, no verification needed.
right.
That's kind of, to me, and from some verification from research, is where this idea of a cult really comes from. Is just, it had a good meaning to start out. And of course, like all things in the physical realm, they have been seemingly hijacked and inverted and turned bad.
Yeah. You all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. I think it's really the Nephilim were somehow able to interdimensionally get in here, and they were able to take over. Like they live, they're like robots almost in that, but they're interdimensional beings that are being like projected into here, and they're now taking over humans. We're willingly giving ourselves over to these machines, and we think that it's the actual physical machine is going to like get up and do something like
Mm.
transformer style, when it's no, it's what's coming out of the machines. It's the AI, it's the Project Bluebeam. Some have called it the EI, the extra intelligence, instead of the artificial, because it's not artificial. It comes from outside in the ether. I think it's the static that has been kicked out of all the other simulations, and it's that maybe all the other simulations, they moved on already, and that all of them like came here to like one last gasp to live in a place, and now we're being separated.
That's an interesting point you make there. Um, about, it's like I saw a trailer recently for that movie Moonfall. Have you seen that
No, I
trailer
have not
yet?
seen that one.
Dude, it's just like throwing it in our faces galore. Like it's just tons of conspiracy theories in a
Mm.
movie where there's a crossing planet, which is Nibiru, right? In this case, it's the moon, which just so happens to be artificial. And then they go inside of it. And then there's also black goo, nano, whatever technology flying around and creating its own spaceships and stuff.
Of
It's just
course
like
it is.
intelligent machinery. But
Mm.
this idea of like the static that you're talking about, I've always had this weird thing. And like, I've been lucky enough to have a number of engineer friends in my life who trust me and at least respect my intellect enough to be willing to explain something to me all the way down to its furthest parts to their understanding. They're able to talk to me on a friend human level, even if it's complicated. You know what I mean? It's not just some asshole going, I don't know any better, I'm not going to tell you the rest of it. Really trying to dig into it on any weird question about how things work. The bottom line is no friggin' clue.
Right.
So every screen,
It's so crazy.
the reason why a human can get projected from a lens, from a digital feed, this and that to a screen. None of it really makes any sense. Even if you ask engineers and you go all the way down to how every component works, it still
completely
doesn't.
instant.
It doesn't make any sense why we would be able to technologically use a mouse and keyboard and create it's just so hard to describe, like not mouse and keyboard, but how do you use mirrors and I don't know. I'm over my head.
I understand what you're saying.
I'm getting mad. So let me calm down.
It's all in our heads, honestly. It's
that's kind of where I was going, where the static is almost like the ether. It's the aether.
Exactly. And they put the static in our head so we can't connect with the ether, because once you clear your head, then you start connecting with the ether. These are all my psychic abilities, like seeing, talking through devices in real time across many places. I can do all these things. This is just mimicking me, and not just me, but all of humanity. We all have this ability.
That's what oh shit. Yeah, that's what I talk about with like
YouTube kick me off.
Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. I don't know, it says we're live.
Yeah, I don't know why it just jumped up though. It shouldn't say that.
Did we just go live?
No, it's been live. Big Dumb Podcast. They stopped by. He said,
hi guys.
Glad to see y'all. Can't hang for long, but I appreciate what y'all do. Have a good one, boys. We had What's Really Going On. Said good evening, lady and gentlemen. All right, what's going on, guys?
What the hell were we just saying? Because it was good. And I was
the static, the ether,
that medium, that it's like, it's all in our heads kind of. That's that idea that I think I don't know if I mentioned it to you or somebody else, but like the idea that when we look on our screens and TVs, like we're actually the ones putting those images there. And it's just that electrical feed that they or whatever the company is providing into it.
Yeah.
And that's what they've hijacked. It's always like a mimicry of
that somehow it's being written. A script is being written. Songs are being written just because they're tuned into people's minds. And it's just the black goo is just assembling together our creative abilities.
But dude, so it's like the cabal, Satan, the elites, deep state, whatever you want to call it. Like, what an ingenious plan to just write a program, call it a program for now, even though I mock simulation theory. But they wrote a program that just looks and acts identical to the real program. Like that's kind of how I would describe it.
Underlays our reality.
Exactly. It
overlays.
It overlays. And I think if people look for that imagery and that metaphor, I think you'll see that a lot in film and literature and things like that. Just that imagery specifically is very prominent, I would say.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, man, I love these deep conversations talking about all this stuff, because
especially after a long week of work and travel and shit, this is nice.
And we're just building off of each other, having these creative open minds. It really helps us see a clearer picture. My mind's being blown right now. Some of the things that are coming out of my mouth are surprising me. It's just,
dude, me too. I don't coalesce my ideas this well most of the time, so I've only forgotten what I was saying once. It's really good.
Yeah, I think I did it a few times tonight. It's been a tiring week. It really has. But
You're my only show. This is my only show this week. It's been.
That was like my last week, but then I have like 5 this week. So
yeah, I got to release a bunch. I got to release my Witness series later this month, which is cool. That'll be fun.
Oh yeah, when's that come out?
That's gonna come out like the late 20s of November, late November.
Nice.
or
Yeah, nice.
mid-November, something like that. I don't know. I got to figure it out. I don't schedule things that far in advance, so I don't want to give
Okay.
too specific of a date, but I'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah,
Sometimes when I set dates, I panic and
Yeah.
you know, I'm like, oh, I hope no one saw that date.
uh when I was setting my schedule, I was trying to do like a monthly thing, with my human race series. And
Mhm.
October was Halloween, so I'm trying to do the theme, fallen angels, demons, aliens, and now this month is healing and giving thanks, Thanksgiving.
That's
And then next
perfect.
month is going to be there's going to well it'll go with the theme of next month, so that's all I'm going to say
Yeah,
for that.
dude. That'll be intense. I think you should oh man. I'm sure you already have some tricks up your sleeves and some plans in place, but oh man, we'll have to talk about that.
But yeah, I have plans for next year already, but I just don't want to get too far ahead. Well,
Yeah.
already beginning, so maybe I'll have to do more than one a month, but I have a perfect one that you're gonna definitely be involved with.
Oh,
I
cool,
got a
man.
brewing, so just
Sounds good.
we're not gonna announce anything public for a while, but it'll be good.
Cool. Oh, and shit, yeah, I need to touch base with my buddies. But yeah, in December at some point I'm doing like a Game of Thrones roundtable with
Oh
like
yeah,
yeah, but like relating it to, all sorts of hidden
yeah,
themes and shit. And
yeah. Life,
well, yeah, I mean, but
Dog
also
Saga.
my favorite part, yeah, it's gonna lead into that. Like Dan's gonna take care of that angle big time. Kyle from Conspiracy in the Force is gonna be with us.
Oh, nice.
Not sure. I mean, a couple other people should join. I mean, that it might be that small and intimate. We might get a couple others. I'm not sure yet, but I love the fact that we all fell in love with a bunch of white, blonde haired, dragon wielding, uh, lost civilization types on the Game of
Oh
Thrones
yeah.
series. It's really funny that, it's Targaryen. It's so close to
Oh, is it
Targaryen.
really?
Yeah, well, have you ever watched Game of
No,
Thrones?
I haven't. I'm like
Oh,
the
it's
one person.
so that's fine. That's fine. It's fun in this sense for sure. I wasn't into like the swords and sandals at all, other than
Yeah.
like Lord of the Rings in a classical sense, but I just don't follow a lot of that stuff. This one hooked me because of the deep riddles and shit.
Yeah, I
But
just never got into it because it was popular. That's how I
fair
was.
enough.
I didn't watch Sopranos. Well, I know it was popular. I watched it way later. The Wire, same thing. Like I don't watch things when they're super popular.
That happens to me often. Like I don't get near Netflix pretty much at all these days. I
Yeah.
find nothing interesting these days, so I'm rewatching everything. Hashtag rewatch everything. But yeah, the Targaryens are the family with dragons as their emblem, and they actually fly dragons in the past, but they were destroyed and their whole
Hmm.
kingdom was wiped off, and the current kings are like fuck them all and like literally wipe them out of history, chase down the last two kids and kill
Wow.
them. Like that's the story of the Targaryens.
Yeah,
Sounds
that's
eerily familiar.
yeah.
And oddly enough, for 4 or 5, not to spoil it, but oh well, it's been out for a long time. Those guys are the underdogs, the heroes for most of it until the very end.
That's interesting.
So
Well,
yeah.
I gotta tell you, I talked to Ryan Alexander this week, who blew my mind and completely uh sealed not sealed, but swung me. I was already swinging in the position that Tartaria wasn't actually good, that it was the mimicry. And
Yes.
yeah, and it's Tartarus, it's hell. Actually, it was a takeover of those who crawled out of hell, and that I could see that the Tartarians are the Raphaim and they look like He-Man. I was starting to see them as Ryan Alexander was talking to me. And the word Raphaim was popping into my head, and they looked exactly like He-Man, dark-haired, being individuals, like a whiter skin, but more like maybe olive, uh,
Hmm.
and dark
That's
eyes.
intense.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
intense. Oh man, this is gonna.
And he said they didn't even build any of it, that everything's been there way before them. They just came upon it.
That's kind of what we're talking about. Yeah, a lot of the
Yeah.
idea that this was they never created anything. Like, I think that's the point. We're glorifying Tartaria a lot.
Yeah, they
And
were just warring and stole it all.
and we're going to come out the other side, and they're going to, it's, yeah, I'm not sure how it's going to look, but I think we're getting ahead of it now. I hope,
Yeah,
because
well,
we're not the first ones to talk about, like, there's a number of
yeah.
people I'm seeing here and there, very few starting to get suspicious. And I'm like, I've been kind of suspicious for a long time, and it's intriguing, but at the same time, like, I think I've told you before, it's like, what, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, maybe. It's the first I've heard of it. And I'm not saying that I'm the authority on what's out there that, hasn't been found or anything, but
Well, yeah, Flamenco. So
none of
that's
us
why,
were talking about it.
right? Ryan Alexander, he's a flamenco guy. He studied his stuff
Oh yeah,
pretty well. So he's been
the
at it
new
for 40
chronology.
years. Yes. So it's interesting, it kind of like broke my brain because I'm trying to fit it all together with everything I know. And the only thing I walked, well, not the only thing, but the thing I walked away with most is, if nothing from the year 0 to 1000 is accurately kept, that it was the millennial kingdom, that it was absolutely the millennial kingdom, that Jesus Christ had reigned on earth. And there's a lot of Bible passages that support this, that he came back
Yeah.
in 66 AD or 70 AD, right around there, because it says as many times that this generation will not pass until I come back. And there's a lot of different things line up for it. So
That's an interesting point when you say this generation will not pass. I don't what I is that just a translation from
I
one,
don't, well,
because what it has been at least pushed is that he meant, I will be with you until the end of the age, and it's all the
yeah,
zodiac.
well, so
And
the Bible verses that I'm saying are saying, and I'm not saying that this is the most accurate or anything, but just what I saw, he said this generation will not pass until,
okay, that could be a completely separate quote. It could be.
right. And a lot of people, they put these things as if he was speaking metaphorically. So what they do with the Bible, really, it's some things are taken metaphorically, and these are scholars, this is the church in general. They pick and choose what's a metaphor, what's an allegory, what's a parable. They just pick and choose what's literal. And I take it all literal. Like, if you either, it's all literal because there's no reason to write any of this. If it's not literal things, there's no reason to be doing any of the things that have been done to it if it's not being literal things that happen. So I started taking it that way, and it started making more sense. The entire world started making more sense. The Bible clearly says that Satan offered the kingdom of earth to Jesus. How could he do that unless he had dominion over the earth?
Absolutely.
It says so in the Bible. So a satanic cult's running the world makes sense. Makes sense they would have to make sacrifices to Satan in order to rule the world.
Well, it's also interesting that, again, we differ on this, but only in vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And no disrespect to you, to the way you perceive it, at all.
No, none at all.
It's,
Yeah.
I use that reference all the damn time, and sometimes people don't even know that about the Bible, and it kind of like goes, whoa, that, yeah, it was Satan's to give, it was Satan's to offer.
Yeah,
And
Satan has
people are like,
dominion here.
whoa, that's right, okay, shit. And how I always relate it, and I think I've told you till I'm blue in the face, that, like, I see it as the lower self, right? The lower self of the greater being that is the
physical
pure self.
world. Yeah.
So to me, it almost feels like God second guessing himself for a moment. Like, who does God have to rub his ideas off of? And why is he always know it all? If we're made in his image, shit, he must question his own existence quite often, don't you think?
Yeah, well, I'm sure that if there, see, to me,
It's a
there
weird
has
one,
to
I
be
know.
there has to be an end to it on the as above, so below scale. There because when I see it in my mind, it's like almost never ending, but it has to have a point of initiation. It just has to.
Well, it's almost like the scale never ends, but somehow there's that term, the ghost in the machine, where it's like
Something was entered in.
even naturally and beautifully and spiritually, we can kind of recognize this fractal nature that just goes on in both directions forever. But yet, just like a machine, it all repeats just like a machine, but it's not a damn machine. It's natural, but it looks like one. Yet there's that ghost in the machine, quite literally, in what we're talking about. Give up the ghost, right? That's a religious term. It's a Christian term. It's the spirit that makes up, like, it coalesces from these different scales of reality. It's almost like, oh man, it feels really psychedelic right now, because I can see these different scales of like this, like the same reality. You know, is it a concept? Is it is it a truth? Is it a desk? Is it all these different scales all moving as one beast, one giant thing. And I don't know, maybe it's like a point that any one of us can go to. Maybe maybe there is no doing, no personality per se, no actuation of self in God, but any one of us kind of activates the what we perceive as the personable, that we personify it. We literally personify what God is. Oh man, I'm pretty stoned, but that felt clear.
No, that's
and felt
exactly
good.
it. Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are the personalities of God. Just how,
Like, without us, the God, like, people say God is dead. It's like, well, shit, that's because you're not connected to it.
yeah. It's
And
yeah,
that's true. It's just like an electrical board.
exactly. You're exactly right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm feeling tingly, like I took mushrooms right now, man.
Oh man.
Sometimes, that's how it goes, dude. When you're vibing really good and you just get in that zone, you can kind of free float, and like it just, I don't know, it works.
Your vibrations are rising, my friend.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Doing this podcast has helped that tremendously, just from getting so many different perspectives. It's the best thing I've done,
Oh
besides
yeah.
have a kid and get married, like start a family, which is the reason why I started a podcast. But it all comes full circle.
Yeah, that's
Very,
awesome.
very thankful for this opportunity to do this with you and to do my show and the Roots of Creation, man. I feel like we're in good company, and we have a lot of
Yes,
good company
sir.
around us in these communities.
I agree very much so. Yeah. And I am now a member of Alt Media United.
Woo!
Mark brought me on, and I had him on last night. So, we were talking about this last night. Me, Mark, and we were saying how awesome it is to have this company, that everyone is just so awesome. There's no competition. There's no one like trying to use anybody. Like, as soon as I joined Instagram, like, I met up with all these wonderful podcast hosts that are all doing the similar things that I'm doing, all with super open minds. And like, when you go on Twitter, there's people who are just like arguing. When you go on Facebook, it's just old people arguing. Twitter's bots. Facebook is older people. Instagram is like, you find this like little niche. I might have to join Telegram though, since I heard that Telegram is doing okay. So maybe I will. It's just tough, adding in more social media. It's like,
It is. And it's just, honestly, I do like my connections on Telegram, but at the same time, it's like more things to ignore and more things to accidentally get anxious about, because it's just more notification little bubbles, and yeah, it's just more of that. And so that's an interesting point. Maybe we should get into on another episode about how, like, a lot of our solutions are based in the problem. How do we get around it? I don't know. I don't want to start sending carrier pigeons and using ham radios yet.
That's the thing. I think we have to become psychic. That's why I'm going to start offering. Just going to do it on I don't know when exactly. I don't want to commit to anything just yet, but I'm just going to, and I was doing it a few different times, just releasing information on how to become psychic. I know my stuff on social media doesn't get shared around. I'm not all that large, and I'm probably shadow banned to some degree. I think all of
Maybe.
us
I think
are.
we all might be a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, at least a little bit. But anyway, I really want to just help people become psychic because it's not all that difficult. I can work with anyone, and it's not going to happen overnight. Of course, everyone has to realize it in their own time, in their own way. But I can help give people the clues, because being a reflector. So when we look at life, all of us are our own main character of life. So what I have is, I have that when I interact with anybody. I'm the main character of my life, but I'm also, I then transplant myself to miming, or to you, or to someone else, and I can see how you're the main character of your own life. So I get to, while I am a mirror to everybody else is a mirror to me. So I can see it very quickly and easily what I'm doing wrong, that I can help them change their ways by me just changing my way.
Oh, that's
And
cool, man.
yeah, and I can
Very
help
intuitive.
people. Yeah, I can help people unlock things. This is what made me a good coach when I coached softball, is that as soon as I know how to do something, I'm just very in tune with myself, and I know every muscle that's moving. I'm just very aware of everything that's going on around me. So as soon as I would do something, I would show the girls, and then I would be able to teach it to them perfectly. I could see exactly what they were doing wrong, show them the way to do it right, and boom, they correct it. And my teams were always really well coached, and I'm not praising myself. It's just, it's my ability. So when I say I can help people become psychic, I just, I think that instead of having this, we just start tuning in up here, and then we'll start to see more of that world. We'll start to be able to do those things. But that's why the grounding is so important, because we have to be really attached to the earth in order to achieve the
Yes.
ether and other human beings while still keeping our sanity. We'll go crazy if we don't.
Absolutely, and that's the Trinity right there. I think we've talked about that briefly before, about the future, that the lower self, the ego, the Satan, whatever. This thing wants to, everything to be artificial and automated and everything. And it's all very attractive, even to people like me. And I've discussed my obsession with video games and a lot of technology. And it's just that, like, we can do it on our own. I don't know. It's such a weird situation at hand, because, like, we literally do have this dichotomy of futures, pathways that we can go down, and they try to, like I said before, kind of make this technology seem like you don't need the body anymore. And that's kind of the same thing that, not all, but some of what Gaia's programming is saying. I don't think Gaia's completely 100%. There's good people on there, just like there's good people peppered into everything.
Right. They still have, it's worth a while sometimes. I watch their YouTube ads sometimes.
Someone that's on Gaia that I don't often see big popular ads about is a woman that hosts a show that she hates. She does not go into the negative stuff, and she just talks about, like, healing and trauma and stuff like that. And it's just a really good show. She has a lot of knowledge of the dark, deep secrets and stuff like that, but just doesn't even go there. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's done that, been there, done that, Aha, I lost my train of thought for a second time. At least it had to happen twice. But yeah, so the fakery wants you to believe that it's all spirit. All right. They're making people believe in the spiritual world, but they're going to sweep them away from the body in the meantime.
And they're going to
leave all that materialism behind, which we did this. I'm assuming both of us did this a long time ago about fuck materialism and capitalism.
Yes.
Everyone's starting to go through that process when they're going to accidentally go too hyper materialist and too reductionist.
Exactly.
And the pendulum is swinging hard in that direction right now. And it's like, okay, a lot of this can be utilized in a good way. Like a lot of this technology is cool as hell. I don't want to say it's all terrible if we can use it as a medium to get where we can be psychically in the future. But
Yeah.
where they're taking us is a road with no exits, because you know, it seems like science fiction for now, but tomorrow it won't. The whole uploading consciousness, or at least you think you're going to upload your
They've
consciousness.
been doing that for a long time.
Sure, but at least publicly, I'm saying it's going to sweep publicly.
Oh, I know.
You
That's
what I mean?
what. Yeah, that's
Eventually.
crazy. Yeah,
And
it's
when
gonna be
that-
crazy.
When that happens, I mean, this conversation and conversations like this are going to be happening in the streets. People yelling at each other, not about a vaccine, but about whether that's real or not, whether that's really going to be you. And even on a macro level, it's not you. It's just a storage of data turned into an artificial mind. Like, again, back to the screens, when you get engineering all the way down, you literally can't jump the boundary without that real ether.
There's this major trick that's being played at the moment, and it's involving several different phases of this, what you're talking about, being stolen in the astral world. And the video game aspect is definitely one of it, that they're going to get gamers to go deeper into that game. They are getting the spiritual community, they are getting them to be in the astral world so often that they just get hijacked. They are, and it's the same exact thing. They're being taken to the same place because our game systems, our TVs, our interdimensional devices, just like our psychedelics are. It's all the same thing. It takes us all to the same place. So they're just hijacking us into this other dimension. And what does that leave? An empty body. And we have all this stuff about zombies. We were talking earlier about the clowns, the Nephilim being clowns, dead bodies being, painting their faces, or being the men in black, coming dead looking beings. And how would they be dead? Because their consciousness was stolen. The host body is now available. When all these bodies go missing on 9/11, say planes never hit, okay, but all those people went missing, say at least most of them were real people, or some of them at least were real people that were hijacked. What happens is they go to secret space programs, and their consciousness is gone, but the host is being used, and they're trapped in this other dimension doing these building shit on the moon. It's not completely bogus what Corey Good talks about. And this is part of my abduction experience. I've done several of these 20 and backs. It's your consciousness is so hijacked that and it's only maybe 15 minutes in reality, 20 minutes in reality, or in this base reality anyway. It's not very long, and your consciousness is taken, and the host body gets taken over by things. And it's, we don't know what comes in, but if you're hijacked there long enough, then this is when you have like a zombie apocalypse type of deal going on. This is why the zombies eat people just like the Nephilim do, because they're dead bodies and they need the flesh and blood to live. This is why they have the children. And why they look so withered and gross, all these old royals, why they look that way. It's because they're another race of beings. They're literally the serpent seed, and you can see them breaking down each day that's passing ever since COVID. It's been real bad for them. And it's the iron in our blood is taking over. It's the Holy Spirit within us. That is the Christ within all of us that is rising, because the iron just eats away at the copper, and it takes it over.
Interesting that you mentioned that. I don't remember in exactly what context, but iron was mentioned in this story about something that this team of doctors found in like the vaccine samples or something like that, that like shut down part of natural immunity and replace it with something just like it. And doesn't that sound familiar?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the same. So that's, I think that's a hurdle that I have with people in my life that aren't aware of this stuff or don't want to see it or can't see it. It's because for me, it takes that kind of fractal vision to go, yep, or doesn't look like anything.
Yeah.
In this case, it looks like something because it looks like the same damn pattern as everything else. It looks like an artificial thing trying to replace something natural. Are we fighting against evolution, a real evolution, by feeling this way? I don't think so. I feel like there is a real evolution that needs no machinery or any tech. I don't know. It's weird.
I
could
agree.
ramble on forever, but I think we should call it honestly for the evening because I got to get running and work again on a Saturday in the morning.
Oh man, that is a tough one for you. Saturday,
This
I'm
was
glad I'm
beautiful.
off this one. Yeah, this was a very fun episode. I don't have anything. Well, tomorrow, check me out on the roundtable that I'm hosting. Yeah, check me out on there. It should be a very good time. Do you have anything you want to promote? The Roots of Creation?
Roots of Creation episode 1 is out. It does have its own RSS feed. I posted it somewhere. I'll start posting that more once it becomes once we have more episodes out and everything. But yeah, it'll be up on YouTube soon. It's not up there yet either. Slow start. Big things have small beginnings.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going. And yeah, Deep Share is going to keep going. I got episodes coming out next week.
Nice.
So yeah, and yeah, this has been real, dude. This has been a really good conversation. I'm sorry we kind of completely just babbled on and we didn't hear much from Mimi tonight.
Yeah, sorry
Mimi.
She's been doing her thing over there.
She's been taking it all in and researching and
yeah, she's doing it. So everybody, go check out the Deep Share podcast. Check out Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness podcast. And thank you all for coming out.
Yes,
we will talk to you later.
See ya.
Bye.